Presumably, this book was put on the shelf on June 19th, 2022. You mean Juneteenth? What happened on Juneteenth of 2022? This book was presumably put on the shelf on May 1st of 2022. What happened on May 1st of 2022? As you can see on, allegedly, December 13th, 2022, and here on December 16th, 2022. These books were put on clearance. I had not seen one of them before the day I found them on December 22nd, 2022, when I purchased them. The first book is called Clean Air Law and Regulation. The second one is called International Environmental Law and Policy. What happened that day and what happened on December 23rd of 2022 that would be relevant in regards to what these books contain and what they entail? The first book is copyrighted 1992. The second book is copyrighted 2007. It's important to know this is a Wolters Kluwer book. I have not really done a review of this book except to notice that this is a very significant book. 1992 was a very important time frame when it came to European community and changes that were taking place in the European community regarding certain kinds of considerations about changes to law and their updates. There's a number of people that participated in the editing and the participation of this book. It's put out by the Bureau of National Affairs, Incorporated, Washington, D.C. As for the second book, it's important. Why? Because it's 10 years before 2017, but it's also during 2007, which would have been when? 2007 would have been the year that I would have been in the course of starting a period in consideration of a job I had taken upon my return to Chicago. Upon reviewing this book, I did look at Part 2 regarding pollution control, general and specific norms, and I did review Section 14, military activities. In this section, there is an introduction. There's also case studies, including a case study, the 1991 Gulf War, war in the Gulf, the fouled sea, relentless tide of fossil fouls ashore of empty Saudi city. After the war, the environment, burning wells turned Kuwait into land of oily blackness. After the war, another war begins as Kuwaiti oil well fires threaten region's ecology beyond Mideast black rain and acid-filled clouds. Oil fire pollution assessed, wind said to disperse most toxic substances. Not so ironically, look at the date of publication, Washington Post, April 4th, 1991. There's then a section on historical background, right? But the area I reviewed was here, current international law on the protection of the environment in warfare. I looked at section 1 here. This one's concerning part 4 regarding civilian population. It talks about principle 24. I also looked at this, legality of use of a state of nuclear weapons. It's also important to cross-reference with other videos I have on this phone regarding a medical assessment of the fallout of nuclear weapons, including nuclear weapons testing. I have posted that online. But the one that I focused on was this, environmental warfare. Now, this talks about a number of matters, including various conventions that the United States is signatory to, including regarding humanitarian law, as well as protection of property. But this is the one that's very important, prohibitions against the unleashing of dangerous forces. This is very important because, and among other things, it talks about what is considered a dangerous force when it comes to manipulation of either the environment or other things that are dependent upon environmental factors, including international water courses and installations in times of armed conflict. There's also a section on protection of cultural property. Please recall what is stated in the Department of Defense Manual on the Law of War regarding the relationship between cultural property and biological weapons. Among the things it talks about is immunity of cultural property under special protection, as well as protection of cultural objects and places of worship. Now, that was the only section I reviewed at the time I acquired this book, but it does have a section here on enforcement, which I have not reviewed, but including it talks about settlement of disputes, preparation of military manuals, civil liability, but it also talks about criminal responsibility. I just want you to know that insofar as I understand what is happening right now, I will be considering all four of these in consideration of what I just understood is occurring at this time. It is January 15th, 2023, before sundown.